This video follows neatly on from what I said yesterday about drivers driving without insurance, only this guy decided to do it twice. So this post, coincidentally also by the Avon and Somerset Roads Policing and Safety Team, previously seized this vehicle back in October for having no insurance. Only in response to that, and to get the vehicle back, the driver took out a short-term insurance policy just to get it back on the road. Because if you remember from my previous video, if the police do catch you without insurance, or rather catch the vehicle being driven without insurance, they can seize that vehicle because it's on the road without insurance. Sure enough, the driver is then going to face points on the driving licence, typically 6 points for this sort of offence, and in order to get that vehicle back, you're going to have to prove that it's got insurance, it's got MOT, and of course you have a valid driving licence with which to drive away the vehicle. Only in this case, as I said, the driver took out a short-term insurance policy just to get the vehicle back from the compound, only to then let that insurance policy expire. Now again, as I said in my video yesterday, some people seem to believe, and it seems to be a common myth going around, that if you have an insurance certificate, then you're insured to drive that vehicle, even if the insurance policy runs out, which of course doesn't accord with common sense, and therefore doesn't accord with the law. Surprise, surprise. And if I may just interrupt the flow just for a moment to ask you a favour in exchange for all this free legal guidance you get on my channel. I've been looking at my statistics just recently, and over 60% of those that watch my channel are not subscribed. I know you think it might not make a difference, but it really does. It helps YouTube to spread my channel and spread the word to give more free legal guidance to many, many more people. I love to receive those emails when people tell me they've won a case or resolved the problem at great reduced costs than they would have done had they had to go to a lawyer. Lots of you have subscribed in the last few days when I've put this message out as part of my video, so I really thank you for doing that. I would love for you all to do that. It would really help my channel grow and I would be very grateful. Thank you very much for doing that just now, and back to the video. So this driver, whether deliberately or not, will remain to be seen, but this driver that allowed this insurance to expire was then, you guessed it, caught yet again in the same vehicle, again with no insurance, and again the vehicle has been seized. Only this time they're going to be summoned to court because of course they already have the original 6 points on the driving licence and will likely receive at least another 6 points on the driving licence for the same repeat offence. Likely more so because it's a repeat offence and the courts tend to look less favourably upon those who are repeat offenders. Many comments in the Twitter thread said that the vehicle should just be destroyed because of repeat offenders. Let me know in the comments what you think about that one. But either way, as I said, the driver will be recalled to court because it's likely to attract at least 6 points on the driving licence together with a fine and costs, and because the driver will be racking up 12 points on the driving licence within a short period of time, the driver is going to be looking at a mandatory disqualification period unless the defendant can show exceptional hardship and reasons why they should not be disqualified. Now, exceptional hardship means exactly that. It doesn't mean that this is going to be inconvenient for them. It doesn't mean that it's going to be expensive for them. It doesn't mean that it's going to ruin their lifestyle and their social life and that they might have to get public transport to work and all of these kind of things. Because ultimately, exceptional hardship really does mean it has to be exceptional hardship and usually not for the defendant, unless there are serious medical implications, in which case there might be questions over them driving in the first place. What it really means, and the only way it usually comes into play, is when other people are going to suffer quite significantly if this driver loses their driving licence, and that there is no alternative but for them to keep their driving licence, for example, to take them to medical assessments, medical appointments for treatment, and so on. If, on the other hand, it's just going to be more expensive in paying for public transport, or it's just going to mean a lot more inconvenience in taking more time to walk or bike or go by public transport by themselves or for their children or whatever, then the latter are very unlikely to amount to exceptional hardship, and therefore they are quite likely going to face a disqualification period. Not to mention that the vehicle is going to remain at the compound until somebody with valid insurance and licence and MOT and everything else can collect the vehicle and pay the seizure and storage charges which the vehicle will attract, which will continue to accrue. And ultimately, if they can't pay those fees, then the vehicle is likely to be destroyed or auctioned to pay for those fees. And speaking of repeat offenders, this is also what I referred to yesterday, where the court can look at previous convictions for different offences, similar offences, or offences similar in nature, such as driving offences. If a driver has, let's say, one history of driving with no insurance and another one for drink driving in the past, and is then back at court yet again for something else, let's say, for example, driving with no license and no insurance and all of these kind of things, the court can look to a custodial sentence if they are a prolific and repeat offender. Now, some people may not really be aware of the consequences of an uninsured driver out on the roads. Well, you will all be familiar with the phrases comprehensive insurance and third-party insurance, the minimum of which is, of course, third-party insurance to cover other parties on the road. That is because the law imposes a minimum duty upon every road user to protect the other road users in case of your negligence. Meaning, if you are in a collision and found at fault, at the very bare minimum, the law requires you to protect the other parties from loss and damage. That might be physical damage, or it might be injury, or a combination of both. Sometimes there are long-standing injuries that take many, many years of treatment to provide for, which can run into hundreds of thousands of pounds. Without insurance, that driver then becomes personally liable for all of those costs. But if they cannot afford that, then we end up with the Motor Insurance Bureau, which is sort of the fallback umbrella for uninsured drivers within the UK. So how does that affect you, the ordinary law-abiding, insurance-holding, driving licence-holding driver out on the roads? Well, allow me to tell you. The Motor Insurance Bureau is there to help victims of collisions by uninsured drivers, and it's funded by every other insurance company. And so ultimately and indirectly is funded by you, the person that pays for your insurance. This is by virtue of the Road Traffic Act 1988. Every insurer underwriting compulsory motor insurance is obliged by matter of law to be a member of the Motor Insurance Bureau and to contribute towards its funding. So working that backwards, you as the law-abiding collective community of insurance-paying drivers are paying to support the Motor Insurance Bureau, which supports those who are hit by those that refuse or fail to pay for their insurance. So for those that think others driving around with no insurance has nothing to do with you, you're very much mistaken. If you use the roads in any way at all and you pay your insurance premiums as required, that is going into your authorised underwriting insurer, who is, by virtue of law, required to contribute to the Motor Insurance Bureau. So all I can say is well done once again to the road safety teams of Avon and Somerset for taking one more uninsured vehicle off the road and saving you money. So please double check your insurance, make sure it hasn't expired or run out or anything like this, because it will be a strict liability offence if you are caught with no insurance. It's no good to simply say you forgot about it, or you assumed that it would renew and it didn't, or maybe your credit card ran out and therefore they couldn't take the payment, and all of these kind of excuses. Those are not going to work. You will end up with 6 points and many costs on top of that. So take this as your warning to go check your insurance. Please also remember to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you next time.